announcements from Defense Counsel?
No, Your Honor. Felix Valenzuela on behalf of Randy Martel and Mr. Joe Spencer for Chris Martel.
And I believe, well, a couple of things happened. Good morning, everyone. I had wanted to set this for a status conference, just anticipating our upcoming trial date. And as it turns out, I think we had a couple of motions filed by Defense Counsel with respect to some information. I will say I don't know if the state has filed a written response. I have not seen Odyssey, and I generally can't access Odyssey when I'm operating remotely.
No,
but in any event,
we did not.
I wanted to make sure you all were in agreement, not only on the status conference, but to proceed on Defense Counsel's motions.
We are, Your Honor.
Okay. And in anticipation of this hearing, I believe we had confirmed with Mr. Valenzuela and Mr. Spencer that you all were in agreement to waive your client's presence for today's hearing.
That's correct, Your Honor, for both clients.
Thank you very much. Okay, let me go ahead and hear from, well, let me see. I don't know whether we do the status first. Is there anything other than this motion that we need to discuss before we hit these two motions?
I think the motions would affect the status, Judge. I mean, it might be better. Just
let's do that. Let's do that. By all means, proceed, Mr. Spencer, Mr. Valenzuela, whoever wants to go first.
Thank you, Judge. I'm going to be arguing the motion to compel discovery and then the motion to limit discovery just back to back, if that's fine, Judge. And I will be asking to be able to share my computer screen just for a little bit to show the court some information, if that's fine.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, Judge, in this case, the basic facts are that our clients, both Martels, were at Armida Trujillo's house. Armida goes by the nickname Army. While they were at her house, Diablo, the decedent, came and attacked 3 different times. The third time that he came to the house, he came with 2 thugs who had a machete and a gun. So during the course of our investigation of these alleged facts, we learned that Diablo was a Chuco Tango gang member, that he had an extremely violent history and much of it with Army. So we found that the state itself had charged Diablo with numerous violent crimes where Army was the victim. And many of those cases resulted in convictions, felony and misdemeanor convictions. So pursuant to Brady, we made a very targeted request to the state, very specific request asking for specific incidences between Army and Diablo. So in response to that, the state produced 24 incident reports involving both Army and Diablo. They produced some of the media in each of those, but they didn't produce it all. And so what we asked for is a very particularized, itemized list in our motion of what we required from those cases. So of those 24, we asked for evidence just from 7. And it's 7 cases that are extremely relevant to the incident case. After that, we asked the government for those additional media, additional reports, or anything. They responded that they're only going to give us what they already gave us. So as the court knows, in Texas Code of Criminal Procedure 3836, it permits the admission of evidence of all relevant facts and circumstances surrounding the killing and the previous relationship of the parties. In this case, the state has listed Armida Trujillo on their witness list as an individual they intend to call. Because she's going to be testifying for the state, we need the evidence that we requested for impeachment. And we especially can pick out what we need because, as the court recalls, in July 2022, the state called Army to the stand to testify during the bond hearing, and she provided extremely inconsistent recitation of facts and of what occurred. The evidence we requested specifically explains many of the circumstances of the offense and the relation to the parties. For example, Army had cameras in the house specifically because she was scared of Diablo because he had broken into her house multiple times and because of the violent history that she had with him. He broke in the door, he broke in through the bathroom window, as she told us. And again, it was between her and Diablo. So these are just a small snippet of why we need these things and shows why they're vital to the defensive theory of the case. We're asking for them now. We asked for them a while ago because we're trying to expedite trial itself. So we want all the material evidence before trial instead of having Army on the stand talking about a case. She denies it. Then asking for a break for the state to give us the evidence, review the evidence, investigate the evidence, prepare a cross, and then get back on. Instead of breaking every 5 minutes, we're asking for the evidence now. And so, respectfully, Judge, for this specific motion to compel discovery, we're asking that the state be ordered to produce those specific items listed in our motion by the end of business today. And as for the motion to limit discovery, if I may just share my screen really quick, Your Honor.
Yes.
In this case, Judge, our clients, are you able to see that PowerPoint, Judge?
I am. Thank you.
Perfect. In this case, our clients were arrested in 2020. Now, as the court recalls, in 2021 is when this case just got wrought with problems because of the state's inaction. The prosecution prevented us from viewing the physical evidence. The only way we were able to review it is we had to file a motion, have a court hearing, and then a court order. So they allowed us to review the evidence. Then they refused to send it out for testing. So again, we had to file the motion, have a hearing, ask the court to order them to send it. Then they refused to send relevant items. So again, we had to file a motion, ask for a hearing, and get a court order. Every single time that they did this, Judge, we had to come to court, expend all the resources to get the state to comply with its basic legal obligations. And so because of that, now we're in a position where we had the backup or the jury trial set for April of last year, April of 2022, which was a year and a half after our clients were arrested. Because of state's inaction, the state did not send out relevant items because they didn't send it out for DNA testing. The court had to reset it for September of this year. September 28th is when we're set to start trial. Because of this, Judge, we have sent a specific 3914 to request to the government months ago, asking for, again, very specific evidence, very specific information. The problem we have here is that the state is just throwing a morass of evidence at us. First, for the court's information, in 21 and 22, 2 years, the state produced 67 gigs of information, 11,000 files. In the past few months, they have produced 192 gigabytes of data, over 58,000 files in the past few months, Judge. And again, when we ask for evidence, we ask for very specific targeted things. Here, it's just a morass. Some of it's organized, some of it's not. Some of it's normalized, some of it's proprietary. Some of it's produced as is, some produced whatever format they have. To make it worse, some of it's produced on portal, some of it's produced on disk, some of it's produced on email. So we're getting multiple different conflicting conveyances of the data.
Let me stop you
It's
right
been-
there because I'm guessing you're going to have a lot of different things, Mr. Valenzuela. In terms of this last 192 gigs most recently, has any of that been inaccessible? I hear what you're saying, they're in different places, but has any of it not been accessible in a format that you all could not review?
In all reality, Judge, because, I mean, even today, we got an email saying there's more discovery to pick up this afternoon. We have not been able to make it every single file. I mean, because again, this is I would say it's even past midnight. You know, it's not even the stroke of midnight before trial, and so we're just trying to make our way through it. More specifically, Judge, between August 4th and September 14th, the state produced 5,055 new videos that were uploaded to portal. They produced thousands of new photos, and in June of this year alone, they gave us 57 discs to be able to process. And this is not even the eve of trial, Judge. This is way beyond that preparation. It's almost 3 years since they actually brought the case. And so,
Mr. Valenzuela, is all of that information on these instant cases? It's not anything related to the motion to compel?
so what this is, there's a lot of duplicates. There's a lot of different formats. There's partial discovery. It's a mess, Judge. It's a mess. And it's across a variety of media, a variety of productions.
Okay,
I don't see anything.
Question is, hold on, Mr. Valenzuela. My question is, does it all have to do with these two indicted cases?
Yes,
I mean specifically that investigation, not anything that has to do with any prior incidents involving the decedent or anything like that.
That's correct, Judge. It's just about this case. Yeah,
Okay.
That's correct, Judge. I apologize. And so, Judge, because of this, being that some of it is duplicates, some of it does contain things that are already produced, we still have an ethical obligation to verify the content of each production, to see what the differences are, to see what can be used as cross or what can be used as impeachment. For example, this case, Judge, we got in June by Ms. King, 57 discs. 57 discs that, I mean, again, as discovery spread all across it, that we have to expend time and resources to be able to go through it and verify. These are discs that contain information the state has had in its possession for about 3 years now, and they're just now producing to us in duplicate, triplicate, we don't know at this point, on the eve before trial. So we've been trying to diligently work our way through it, but it feels like, given the vast amount of production that they're producing this late in the game, that they're trying to goad us into a continuance. There's no uniform format of production. Some are on disk, some are on portal, some are through email, and there's no uniform format of the files themselves. So, and I apologize, Judge, but we've been trying to be patient. We've been diligently working on this case, as the court knows from all of our ex parte motions. But the state has put us in a position where we're stuck between two very difficult positions. First, we have our ethical obligation to review every piece of evidence, to investigate its veracity, to interview the witnesses, to prepare motions and whatnot. And also we have countervailing interests of our clients' liberty interests and their speedy trial rights. And because the state is doing this, it's just not, it's not in compliance with fundamental fairness, Judge, when they've had 3 years to disclose all this evidence, to do it 2 weeks before trial. Actually, we're getting some more today. So, Judge, for this, we're asking that one of two options. Because the court back in October said that the delays caused by the state would make the court consider a significant bond reduction, and this is October 2021, we ask that the court permit our clients to be released on a PR bond. That way they can come to our offices and help us prepare for trial. Right now, with all these productions on a daily basis, requires us as well to head down to the annex and try to coordinate visits and try to bring the discovery and whatnot to review it with them, as opposed to doing it here, which, you know, the state has it in their own office. Second, if the court is unwilling, we ask that the court prevent the admission of any of this extremely late, and there's no reason for the late productions that the state has currently given us. Mr. Honor, respectfully ask the court grant both of those motions.
In terms of the restriction, Mr. Valenzuela, can you tell me again? I don't know if I'm having some issues, if it's breaking up. What are you asking to limit?
We want to limit everything that's been produced late, Judge. Everything, all those 58,335 files that were produced in the last few months, and going forward, the ones that will be produced later on today, and whatever they intend to throw at us.
Okay, so I'm clear, you know, with specificity. Anything, is it from June 29th forward, or is there some other range? I want to be sure I know exactly what you're asking to exclude.
Yes, Your Honor, from June 2023 forward.
Okay, all right. Anything else?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, Ms. King or Mr. Duke, go ahead.
Judge, regarding the first item that Mr. Valenzuela brought up, 3836, that's dealing with the relationship amongst Armida Trujillo, and the decedent Julio Minjares. It is not to deal with the defendants, Chris Martel or Randy Martel. So I don't see how 3836 is even relevant in this matter. We did give defense counsel notice in the witness Brady type material regarding the relationship between Armida Trujillo and Julio Minjares. Additionally, we did give some, I believe, the filed cases and the conviction cases, if I'm not mistaken, to defense counsel along with media for those cases. Yes, there are several other cases. I believe those were declined. I'd ask Ms. King to verify that just so I can be sure. But it's my understanding those other cases were declined. Is that correct?
Yes, some were declined and some were not even presented to our office.
Okay. So we have given those to defense counsel, which again is above and beyond what I think we are required to do, because 3836 doesn't even apply to the defendants in this matter. Regarding the discovery, I would agree with defense counsel as to in this regard that there are copies of things that are being sent over Some of these are at defense counsel's request. For example, the other day we did send a Blu-ray over, and then it was returned because defense counsel is saying they don't have a Blu-ray. So we're having to reformat things so that they can view it, which we're happy to do. We're not trying to hide the ball or anything else. We're trying to give them everything that we have. I mean, we either give you everything or we don't give you enough. So I'm trying to figure this stuff out. But they should have all of the videos that are on the portal. They should have all of the photographs that are on the portal. And that's the case in a nutshell right there. The videos and the photos. And all of that is available on the portal.
So is everything that is on, I'm trying to understand, what is.
And I
I
think
guess-
the last large data dump that I saw, and it was large, I'm not going to deny it, was August 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. And that's all dated on the portal.
Okay, but I guess I'm trying to understand what that is. So for example, 57 discs of information in June is a lot of information. Is this something that was not available to defense counsel over the pendency of this case?
Most of that, Your Honor, I believe would be jail calls, but for their respective clients. There are some other items on there. I'll let Ms. King discuss that because I'm not sure exactly what all is on there.
Judge, so if I may, it's jail calls for each of the defendant. And the reason we made a hard copy as far as the jail calls, because the way that Portal used to upload it on Portal, they had a version where it would convert a software that would convert that everybody can listen to it. Like if I click on Portal, I won't be able to listen to it. So we went ahead and put it on a CD and disclosed that for Randy and Chris Martel.
And these
Your
are
Honor,
ongoing. I'm sorry, these are ongoing. So these jail calls are from presumably date of incarceration into or custody into now, or when you just.
correct. Yes, Your Honor, that's correct. So every time we receive them, from what I see how the jail stamps them, they're a month in between, and they would disclose, they would include the affidavits in there. And so as we're receiving those, we're disclosing them because we found out now Portal doesn't have that software that converts where everybody can listen to them. Your Honor, as far as, for example, there's a disc number 2, a Blu-ray JF08. Your Honor, that was disclosed back in June 29th. That was a second copy, a duplicate copy of what was disclosed in December of 2021. And it was also on Portal. But because there's so many, Portal is not as user-friendly. There right now I see videos, 5,338 videos. We went ahead and just sectored them out into separate CDs. So we just make it easier for defense counsel to look through them instead of having to go and click through each page on Portal. There
Okay, so
are
let me understand. There are 5,338 videos
that are on Portal right now, but they're also duplicates of what has been already disclosed. And I don't know why, but I guess law enforcement have made duplicates that they have put into evidence as far as like USBs. And so it's just, we check those USBs out and we have uploaded them to Portal, and we have also saved them on a CD, and that's contained in the hand delivery. For example, June 29th hand delivery.
Let me stop you right there. With all of those videos, are these videos that were initially taken into evidence, or I guess in the investigation?
Correct, Your Honor. They're video footage from pretty much 4 different videos. She had 4 different cameras into the house, so they capture, there's like an outside, inside, and 2 other bedrooms. So some of them were over a span of 4 days for one camera angle. I'm not sure that's just how crimes against persons obtained, but we're just disclosing what was tagged into evidence and
Well, let me stop
disclosing it.
there. Now let me ask, please. So all of those videos, I'm assuming these are all surveillance camera videos, were available on Portal beginning when?
And are beginning all the way. Let's see. I see the earliest right now is April 27th, 2021. Actually, I see there's first video is December 14, 2020. It's 1.79 gigabyte.
And that was on Portable. A defense attorney could click on Portal, click that video and view it.
Yes, Your Honor. You would have to download it. So, but it was uploaded December 14, 2020, and that's page 54 under videos.
Is that the same? I mean, are all of the other videos in the same? I mean, they may not be exact same dates, but were they available as early as 2021 and accessible on Portal?
Yes, Your Honor. The ones that were uploaded in 2023, other than the dash cams, there's 20 videos of dash cams. Other than those, they are just duplicates of the camera footage.
Okay, the dash cams, what are those? What are those videos?
Let's see. They're, Your Honor, I believe they were just the dash cams from the units of patrol responded.
Okay.
And let's see
And when
what
was the first time they were made available to Defense Counsel?
they were made available. Oh. I believe it was so. I believe, Your Honor, I'm trying to look through September. It was the last hand delivery.
Like September this year?
Yes.
So all the dash cam video from the scene was not made available until September, well, this month.
Yes, Your Honor. That's the only one that's I can say those are, we just found out about them that they were never sent, or I have no idea what happened. We did, I believe Mr. Duke did inform co-counsel or defense counsel that, hey, we are going to disclose those. This is the first time we even see them.
Were they in your possession? Like, did
No,
you all
Your
have
Honor.
them in the amount of information you didn't realize you had them, or did PD just turn them over?
PD just turned them over.
And I think that they may have been on the portal at some point, however, the portal has had issues where it deletes videos or videos drop off for whatever reason. So I cannot definitively say when they were uploaded originally. I just know we gave them recently to the defense counsel in this case. They depict the units arriving at the scene. I believe one of the videos depicts a traffic stop, taking a suspect or a person into custody. That person was later released on the video itself, and that person went to the station to provide a statement.
What else?
That's all I have, Judge.
I mean, it sounds like there's a lot out there, and I'm a little concerned. Maybe it's just because of the sheer volume that this may have made things very difficult for defense counsel to distinguish what is new, what is not new, how long have you had access to it. I mean, if I'm understanding you, Ms. King, Mr. Duke, is basically everything that has been recently delivered, let's say since June of 2023 to defense counsel, was previously available, viewable, no issues, as early or as late as 2021, with the exception of the dash cam videos.
Correct, Your Honor.
That's what the state's telling me, Mr. Valenzuela.
Thank you, Judge. First, as to Mr. Duke's contention, We believe that those prior incidences between Army and Diablo are required to be produced because they're extremely material. And as the court saw in our motion, as Mr. Duke saw as well, 3914H, it's a mandatory, tells the state to disclose the defendant any exculpatory, impeachment, or mitigating document, item, or information in possession, custody, or control of the state. I mean, that's exactly what those are right there. It goes extremely to the exculpatory nature of the evidence, the impeachment against Army, who's going to been listed by the state. Even the case that's been declined, for example, it shows Diablo in a video breaking into Army's home, which shows the fear, which shows the relation to the parties, and which shows the fear that Army had. And as to what Ms. King is saying, the jail calls, we completely understand that. I mean, those are rolling production because those happen as they happen. We're not contending against that at all. The problem is everything else that we're receiving minutes before trial. And in my experience, Judge, I've seen instances in Portal where even though evidence was uploaded on a certain date, Portal will have it backdated as if it had been produced months before. And I've seen that happen in a few of the cases with the state. And so with Ms. King, what she's saying under oath before the court is that she personally verified when these documents were uploaded and then not relying just on the record that's created by Portal, but on her personal knowledge, which I don't think Ms. King was on this case at that time when that evidence was uploaded. And so the issue we have is not the jail calls, but everything else, the dash cam, the gaps in the home surveillance videos that we're getting. And again, it's almost impossible to pinpoint those gaps that are in disks and hard drives that are being produced now. And so even if there's duplicates, Judge, we want to know if the state ran basic duplication methodology, which requires like a hash analysis to show that they are verified duplicates, or some kind of verification that they've used computer technology to verify that duplication, as opposed to just saying it's the same file name or it was produced in different format. And again, Judge, I don't think the state has that here. I don't think the state has the evidence to show that. I think they're relying on what they see on Portal. But again, Portal, as Mr. Duke said, it has been completely unreliable. It backdates evidence, it changes evidence, and evidence disappears. And so that's very, very difficult situation that we find ourselves in, Judge.
Learning a few things that I don't think I'd ever heard before is this, Portal kind of, it's a little quirky. I had never heard that Portal, sometimes things disappear off Portal, this automatic dating of information. Look,
We were having, I will say this, Your Honor, with things dropping off of the portal. I believe, I'm not an IT person, but I believe that's been resolved. As far as backdating things, I have never seen that before. Not saying it hasn't happened, I've just never seen that before. And I personally have not run any type of software to detect any type of duplicate videos. So I have not done that.
Okay. I mean,
And I'm not sure how you do that because I'm not an IT person.
But Your Honor, may I say a few things real quickly?
sir. Mhm.
Thank you, Judge. With respect to the impeachment issue, you have to remember, Your Honor, that Army was a victim in her home. She was assaulted by Diablo that night. That's according to the witnesses that were there that gave statements to the police officers. So the relationship between Army and Diablo is extremely important because not only is our claim self-defense, but it's also defense of a third person. So that relationship is important. The duplication of the videos, although Ms. King says, Mr. Duke says, most of it was already there. We just wanted to give it to them again. I mean, we have an obligation, Mr. Valenzuela said, to go through not everything is duplicated. So we have to still go through the resources of making that determination. And although Mr. Duke says that it was PD that had the dash cams, or it may have been Ms. King, I apologize. Well, the prosecutor said that PD is the one that had the dash cam video and they just turned it over, that it wasn't in possession of the state. The court knows the police department is an extension of the district attorney's office. And when the police department has it, it is virtually imputed upon this district attorney's office that they have possession of it, and they have an obligation to turn that over to us in a timely basis.
Can I show my screen just one more time, Judge, so that'll help explain a lot of this?
Sure.
So, Judge, this is a screen grab we just got from Portal. As the court can see on the left-hand side, there's maybe 15, 20 different 00.mp4 uploaded around the same time. Each of them has a completely different file size from 5.6, 5.8, 5.5, 5.65. And so the sheer fact that we have one file that's named the same, way more than, I don't even know what duplicate times 10 is. This is just one instance of 5,000 photos, Judge.
Well, does anybody, like when you click on those, are they all the same piece of evidence, understanding that the data or how it's logged in is there are discrepancies there, but is it the same item? I mean, I don't even know. In terms of that issue of backdating, I mean, I could see a situation, I don't claim to know how Portal works and how data gets uploaded there, where there could be, you know, a difference between the date, let's say, of the evidence versus the date when it was actually uploaded. So you might have a video or a photo or an audio recording that may be dated because it was taken on a date certain, but it wasn't actually uploaded to Portal until a different date. And I don't know that Portal reflects that. Here's my problem. My problem is it sounds like you all have a huge mess of evidence, data that's coming in, maybe some late, maybe not. And I don't know that we have a real handle on everything, not just things that the state intends to use or anything like that. I mean, a log of everything that has been listed and provided to defense counsel in this case. I mean, it sounds like, you know, if we're talking about duplicates, it certainly is, you know, maybe it's in kind of a rush to make sure everything is turned over that we're having this, but it's a problem because when you turn it over to defense counsel, they do have an obligation to go through and verify every piece of evidence. And so does the state have, do you all have all of the evidence logged in some sense that, you know, can be cross-checked, can be verified, see what's duplicate, what's not? I kind of get maybe also some of the confusion might be because in trying to make things more accessible to defense counsel may lead to more duplicates, but I don't really feel like there is a full understanding of exactly. So if that document that or photo that you just showed, MP4, really is just one photo, right? Then we're not talking about 20 odd pieces of evidence, which, you know, is strange considering the underlying data notes, but, you know, is it really one picture or is it 20 pictures? I don't know. Do you all know?
Your Honor, when I personally was reviewing those the MP4s, so it's this kind of the same incident. It's just the previous videos they were, and I don't know how this works, but the ones like the MP4, it's actually an entire minute. Wherever you have other videos, it shows the same thing around the same time. It's just doesn't contain a whole minute. It contains like 20 seconds of it. And then you have to click on the other video to continue the next 20 minutes. And then you just have to piece them together like a puzzle. Or instead of having to deal with sectors of 20 seconds, there's this 1 minute, and that's a span of 4 days, which is December 9th to December 12th, 2020, the day of the murder.
Well, that kind of sounds like a mess, because if you have a minute, I mean, if you have a video that's a minute long, and then you have 10 other items that are the same video, but just different snippets of it. I mean, that is kind of a nightmare of evidence review, right?
And Your Honor, it is. I mean, it took me personally, you know, I would say 5 hours to actually go through each one and see, hey, what's been duplicate. And I don't know how, but the police department managed, or this is what we've been disclosed. And I personally had to sit down and title each video, what's been shown, what's the time stamp on it, and kind of put it all together and saying, okay, this is a duplicate, this is not a duplicate.
Was that provided to defense counsel? I just mean like for identification, you know, what, you know, was that provided as a guide when you turned those things over to defense counsel?
No, Your Honor, this was just my work product of taking notes and preparing for trial. That's just what I have done for me. And as far as knowing, as back to briefly to Mr. Valenzuela mentioning that, kind of saying when was the date and time that a certain video was uploaded, that is true. I'm actually just looking and pulling up Portal. I haven't actually saved a discovery throughout time. I'm going based off of hand delivery slips from the past before I received the case and based on the time that I see if I pull up Portal right now.
Mhm. Mm. Okay, what else? Anything else? This brings, I'm sorry, was somebody gonna say something? This brings
No,
me a
no,
lot of
ma'am.
concern,
Bonnie, no, ma'am, nothing else, Your Honor.
because we are at the eve of trial and it sounds like this is not, how quickly can the state provide how quickly can the state provide defense counsel with an accurate, non-duplicate list of everything that has been turned over?
What do you mean, Judge? As far as videos or?
Look, defense counsel is asking to have everything from June of 2023 forward, maybe not the jail calls, excluded, right?
Right.
Right.
But frankly, that may be things that were already on Portal and accessible from at least 2021.
I don't think that's accurate, Your Honor. I may be wrong, but I don't think that's accurate. For example, the jail, I think there was some information that we got that had been available, but we just recently received.
Okay, but it's available and you couldn't access it on Portal? Is that what you, I mean, like the DA's had it, but you all didn't have the ability to review it?
Judge, I don't have my file in front of me, so I can't give you that specificity. My recollection is that not everything was on Portal that we could review.
Hmm. Well, the thing is here is that that's what I'm looking for is specificity. And I'm not necessarily saying the onus is on the defense to do this, but I'm not actually even quite hearing it from the state, other than maybe dash cams and jail calls. I don't know that you all are able to tell me exactly. I mean, what I'm asking is what has been available, right? What has been available from day one, or at least the first year, right? Because presumably all of that should be complete. Now, if there's further requests from defense counsel, like on these cases that involve Armida and Mr. Mijares, or those types of things, I can understand how those could develop and maybe come over time, wouldn't be readily accessible, but certainly the entire case investigation should have been available. And that's what I want to know.
Right.
And I'm not hearing that anybody can tell me that, because it seems like there have been so many, and I'm going to say just various reasons why things were not done, I guess, in a kind of complete, organized way. I don't know if it's delays in having received them, things like that. And now you all tell me that Portal's really tricky. That doesn't help.
I think one issue, Judge, and I apologize for breaking it, but is that I know Ms. King and Mr. Dukes are at a disadvantage because they weren't the first prosecutors on the case. There were others that disclosed some of the evidence and then wasn't disclosed and did test and didn't test. And so that's why it's really difficult to pinpoint what was up there and what was not. Because I mean, I guess Ms. King is talking from her personal knowledge of the case, which is, 2 years in, whereas we've been trying to litigate this case because, it's still a state. The state is still a state. So I think that's the difficulty in pinpointing with the action the court wants.
But 2 years, Ms. King, you've had this for 2 years?
No, Your Honor, I had it, I believe, January of 2022, which is when I was moved to your court. I started June of 2021, but I was in misdemeanor land.
All right. So I'm back to my
I
question.
just got on the case myself, Your Honor,
I
but
know, but for everybody, we have trial into less than 2
no,
weeks.
no, I know, Your Honor. So what I
So-
can do is this. I can certainly look at the discovery list. But unfortunately, the way the portal works, the video clips are just, they're not titled. They're giving the file name is like a number. It's not saying, video from inside residence on such and such date and time. It just has a file number on it for the name. So I can certainly produce that list and it would show when that particular video was uploaded. But again, I don't know because it's not titled in such a way to say that all of these videos were uploaded at a certain date and time.
And Judge, if my understanding is correct, what the court is asking is pretty much looking at the hand delivery slip that Mr. Valenzuela pulled up earlier, dated June 29th, 23, and kind of go through each, I believe there's 57 discs, and go through each disc and kind of title to the court when, according to portal, if we pull it up right now, when was something uploaded, or when does the state have a hand delivery from the previous prosecutor when such disc was disclosed or not? Is my understanding kind of correct on that?
I think that may cover most of it, but what I also want to be sure is that I understand if there is anything, again, other than the dash cams, and like the ongoing jail calls, that was not made available. So is there anything that has been disclosed from June 20, well, I'm just using that date, I'm not really, married to that date, June 2023 forward, that was new, like flat out new?
So it's kind of putting all the hand deliveries together according to what we see on portal right now, the dates that we have stamped on portal, and kind of crisscross all of them.
Yes. So what I'm
No way.
understanding is that the beginning June disclosures, for the most part, are duplicates, right?
Correct.
Provided on a disk for easier access to counsel, right? Yeah, no?
Correct.
Okay.
I think I'm cutting out.
So if we can confirm that, right? Like the stuff that was hand delivered in June and going forward is not new information, and defense counsel had full access to it, then I think that will go a long way into assessing the requests. But again, that sounds like it's going to be a huge task. And none of what we're talking about today makes me comfortable about our trial date. And that's not a good thing. Because I know we've had kind of ongoing statuses, and I kept hearing from you all, yeah, everything's on track, Ms. King's doing great, all these kinds of things. And then lo and behold, less than 2 weeks out, all of a sudden there's a huge issue with disclosures.
And that's because the disclosures came at such a late time, Your Honor. And although ethically, I don't think defense counsel can rely on the prosecutor's representation that they're duplicates. I mean, that's something that we have to verify ourselves, just because we have our own ethical obligation. And I'm not about to disparage either one of Mr. Duke or Ms. King and saying that they're going to misrepresent anything, but we have to make our own investigation to represent to our clients that we have verified whether or not there was duplication. And the real problem, and I know in some cases the prosecutors have tried to help by giving it to us in a different format in a disk to try to help, but when they duplicate it, we have to go through it and make sure it is duplicate. And sometimes, and I don't think it was done on purpose, but sometimes when we thought it was duplicated, we found there's a snippet, there's an additional video because they're in little segments. There's additional video that wasn't there before. And that's a real frustration we're having. And then it's the late discovery that makes us very anxious as well, because the stakes are so high in this murder case.
But then still, so then it doesn't really, then it doesn't really matter when we're talking about those videos. I mean, that there are, 10 or 20 different versions, let's say, of one surveillance video clip, because even if they're snippets, all of them have to be reviewed. And if the state received them that way, then that's what it is. And so then I guess really my question is, okay, so those, what were the additional dates of, I guess, since June when things had been turned over to you all? I think I'm hearing there are ongoing, like you're actually anticipating one today.
We received production in June, in August, in September, then, I mean, it's been rolling.
Judge, the one for today, I believe, the defense counsel asked for a Blu-ray, for 2 CDs on a Blu-ray to actually be converted to a regular
So it's
CD
a
because they don't
redo
have
of a
Blu-ray.
previously, I'm sorry, it's a redo of a previously, reformat of a previously provided disc.
Which are on portal as well. So that's what, and that's taking time because they are photos.
Well, let me ask
Which is
Ms.
why
King,
Blu-ray.
if I can. Ms. King, we were asking specifically about the camera on the refrigerator. Had that been previously disclosed? I thought that had not been previously disclosed.
JF08, that was disclosed. Another copy I gave September 11th, and I also see a hand delivery that was disclosed by Michelle Hill, December of 2021.
Okay.
Okay. Well, then, what I'm hearing is, I think what I'm hearing is that, with, again, the exception of the dash cam and the jail calls that are ongoing, that everything else has been previously provided to defense counsel. I mean, well before June, August, September of this year. Yeah, Ms. King?
Correct, Your Honor.
And Mr. Valenzuela, you're asking for exclusion of anything from June forward. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor. Either that, or as we said, a PR bond, so our clients can actually be at our office reviewing all this massive late discovery.
Okay. State, let me make sure I understand what your position is on anything that wasn't previously disclosed, but has been kind of included in these June to date hand delivery disclosures. What is your position on exclusion of anything that was newly provided to defense counsel on that timetable?
Judge, we'd be opposed simply because it's just a very broad request that defense counsel is making. And I'm not sure exactly what files he's referring to.
Well, see,
that-
that's
that-
part of the difficulty that the court has as well, Mr.
Yeah,
Duke. What I'm
right.
trying to ascertain is, aside from dash cam and jail calls, what was not timely provided, and I'm taking that to mean anything that was from June of this year forward to defense counsel. And I'm because of the manner in which I guess these disclosures were happening, nobody can really tell me what that is.
Unfortunately, I have to agree with you, Your Honor. I don't know, because I can't say with any specificity what was delivered prior to June that is a duplicate in June. But I think that this is kind of I think that suppressing anything that was given to defense counsel after June is also filled with problems. Simply because of what the court already understands, the difficulty in specifying what wasn't given versus what was given.
Okay,
Judge, I have, I mean, maybe a possible idea that might remedy it. What if the state provides us their exhibit list? So we know exactly what they tend to admit.
That's fine.
And we
I don't have a
verify.
problem with doing that.
the thing would be, I mean, if the state of you all can agree to do that, that's fine. It doesn't bother me. But what that's not necessarily going to be everything that you want to know about, right? And so, look, I just don't know that I can, I'm inclined to grant your request, Mr. Valenzuela, but I am not comfortable with this general idea of, things that were disclosed beginning June forward. I mean, I want to know with specificity what was not previously provided to defense counsel. And then I'm very comfortable looking at whatever those things are that were late, voluminous, I don't know, whatever it is, and ruling on that. But I am not comfortable granting a request, especially in light of this kind of ongoing, basically we were taking things off a portal and now putting them on disk, even though they were available. And I understand because of the time that has elapsed since things were initially on portal, and now hearing that portal is, quirky, and sometimes things are there and sometimes they're not. Yeah, that's problematic. But it's hard to rule on some of these things when nobody has a real handle on the specifics of what we're asking to exclude. And so if you all can provide me something, I have no problem. Sounds like Mr. Duke, Ms. King are ready to provide you their exhibit list. I don't think that's going to cover everything you may want to know about. It's not going to cover, the 53 or, thousands and thousands of files, that they may not have.
And unfortunately, those video files, Your Honor, are just little snippets. They're not very long, which that creates the voluminous amount of
Right.
video, which I get.
Right.
But the reality is, and I think Mr. Valenzuela and I can both, and Mr. Spencer and I can both agree that we're not going to be using nearly, not even a tenth of that. And so we can certainly give them, advance notice. This is what we anticipate introducing into evidence and letting them know so they're not caught off guard. That's fine.
Sure, but for every, snippet that you use, there's probably 50 snippets that they're going to review or they have to review. And
I get it, Your Honor. I get it.
so, before I even speak to the additional relief requested, which is reference the bond, is there anything about your request, Mr. Valenzuela, that will still get us to our trial date? So in other words, if these defendants are able to bond out, and I mean, there's nothing I'm hearing today, honestly, that sounds like we're going to make our trial date, which is a little frustrating.
And the difficulty we have, Judge, is just because it's produced so late. I mean, the defense was ready to go. We thought the state was ready to go, and then we get this massive production. And so the idea is that how do we get through 58,000 files when we start jury trial next week? And the idea is we expand the man hours. We have our clients here since they're the first party witnesses to be able to get to it. Again, the idea is how do we expeditiously get through all this discovery? We don't want a continuance. We don't want to push at this point. I mean, it might become necessary at some point that we do, but we believe that having our clients here in our office can actually get us a lot quicker through this mass, extraordinary late production of discovery.
What's the state's position on it?
Judge, we would be, I can't agree to a bond. I mean, that's the court's call if the court thinks that's the best way forward. But I cannot, the state cannot agree to a bond, Your Honor.
Yeah. The court, court is not inclined to do anything with respect to the bonds, certainly without, again, going to the crux of the issue, which I understand trial prep. The court is absolutely willing to assist defense counsel. If I know in the past, we've I'm not sure if we've done this with your clients, but made the court available, the jury room, all of those things in the event. I know you all have done and been diligent with that type of review with your clients. But if the court can assist in that manner, the court is not going to do anything with respect to the bond at this point. I don't know how quickly we can get a handle on some evidence specificity in terms of further exclusion, but that is also going to be denied right now based on what I think is a very kind of broad grouping. And I certainly don't have a full understanding of the specifics of all of these hand deliveries or disclosures since June of 2023. I'm hearing from the state that they're all duplicates. It's a tremendous amount of files. If that is not accurate, then I need to know specifically what was not previously disclosed, with the exception of those categories that we've discussed today, meaning jail calls and dash cam. Are you still asking for the dash cams to be excluded, Mr. Valenzuela?
Well, the difficulty we have, Judge, is 58,000 files, and I'm happy to go through those to explain what was disclosed, what wasn't. But then again, we start trial next week, so it's at the expense of our last trial preparation to go back and do the state's work for them to show what was disclosed and what wasn't. But if that's what the court would like, I'm happy to comply.
Well, I mean, these were done in June. If you all have gone through all of those,
Well,
I don't know.
42,000 words, Judge, and then 12,000. I'm sorry, and then 3,300 last week, and then whatever's being produced later today.
What was produced last week, Ms. King? Were those duplicates as well?
I'm talking to myself. Is September 11th, they're duplicates, but also, yes, there are duplicates, Your Honor. The only thing that's not a duplicate, and this is the first time we received it from EPPD, would be 20 videos of dash cam.
Okay, so maybe that's the way to go through, is to have the state identify with every disclosure since June what was new. That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. So you're telling me in last week, September 11th disclosure, that's where we get the dash cams. Okay, so previous, what else was new?
There were two disclosures last week on the 11th and the 14th.
So with every disclosure, since June of 2023, what is new?
And Your Honor, I'm more than happy to do that for the court. As far as portal, what's been uploaded, I am looking at what I pull up right now and see, and I'm just gonna look at the date and the time. I'm relying on that. I don't know, unless Mr. Duke knows if there's any way that ITD can pull up that data. I'm not that tech savvy, but I'm more than happy to do that for the court.
How quickly can you get it done? Like, can you get it done in 48 hours?
I will try my best to do that in 48 hours. I'll try my best, just because I know we're in a time crunch and we do have a trial next week. So Wednesday at noon. That I will try my best by Wednesday at noon.
Please share it with defense counsel so I can review it. Are you all flexible on Wednesday?
Yes, Your Honor.
If we needed to quickly convene in the afternoon, we may need to do that. Okay.
Yes, we had intended to see our clients on Wednesday afternoon to go over trial prep, but we will make ourselves available for any hearing on Wednesday, Your Honor.
Okay, let's plan to do that. If you all need like I said, the court's assistance, happy to bring them over to the jury room for you. If that makes things easier, just let us know so we can make those arrangements.
Okay. Thank you, Judge.
All righty, we'll see you all on Wednesday, sounds like.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you,
And
Judge.
Judge, I'm sorry, if I may ask for the court's ruling on the discovery regarding the prior instances of conduct between Army and Diablo, the prior motion, Judge.
That is going to be granted. That is going to be granted. Thank you for reminding me about that.
Thank you, Judge.
I got too bogged down.
Well, in regards to that, Your Honor, I will try to obtain that material. Some of that material may not be available, specifically 911 calls if they have never been requested before. Those may not be available. And then just getting this information in a timely manner. I don't know that I would have it by the end of business today, but I will try my best to have as much as I can get today.
Okay, if we can have an update on that on Wednesday, that
Yes,
should be
ma'am.
the time to do that. All right. Okay. Alrighty, we'll see you all. Just plan for maybe about 3:30 on Wednesday. Thank you.
Thank you. Your Honor.
And
Thank
Judge, would that be in person or on Zoom?
We can do that in person. We can do that in person. Again, counsel, if you're gonna look into requesting the court's assistance, obviously we can bring your clients over. That might impede if you all are going to the annex to see them, bringing them over, but you let us know how you want to handle it. I want to do that in person, unless you all are requesting otherwise, Mr. Valenzuela and Mr. Spencer.
In person's fine, Your Honor.
Okay,
Thank you,
thank you.
Judge.
All right, thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Judge.